She joins us every single Wednesday here during football season. We moved today to 420 because of the old practice dealio. And on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline, Ashley Bastock of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast and Cleveland.com joins us now. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It is. It's great to have you. Did we call the quarterback competition too soon, Ashley? Does Shedeur still have a real chance?
You know what, guys? I don't think you're calling it too soon. I will say it just kind of has felt like it was going to be Deshaun Watson's week one job since Todd Monken said he was going to start that first preseason game against the Bears. Like, I thought that was significant, especially knowing this second preseason game that he's been saying Shedeur was going to start is coming after a joint practice. And everyone knows that those preseason games after joint practices are essentially moot points. We know that all of the veterans won't be playing in that game, too. So I think when Deshaun Watson was named that starter, when he went out there and did like the game managing type of stuff, that it really just, to me, sort of solidified the week one job for him. Now, I'm saying the week one job because I still firmly believe we're going to see both these guys start games at some point this season, especially when you consider Deshaun Watson's injury history. But yeah, I mean, I know they don't want to call it yet. I think they have their reasons for why they're not. But to me, it certainly feels like it's a done deal here. This has kind of transitioned for me.
Deshaun told you guys at the podium today he doesn't care whether or not he gets booed or the fan reaction to when he actually gets in the game on Saturday. Do you feel like he does care, in fact, what the fans have to say?
You know, I think that's sort of the $1 million, $230 million question, if we want to say that, because I say this all the time with players. I think when they talk to us, when coaches talk to us, they want to act like these guys can shut anything out, right? And I think to a large extent they can. I think most of them are pretty elite at compartmentalizing. You have to be. But at the same time, my argument is nothing exists in a vacuum. So he can say he doesn't care, but I think I'm curious to see how he's going to handle that. I do think, the Browns have to have at least some curiosity about how he's going to handle that. I keep thinking about that Todd Monken answer after the Bears game on Saturday, where he sort of acknowledged the frustration that fans have had with Deshaun Watson in the past, right? So I think the team is obviously aware. It would be hard not to be aware, but I think I don't know the answer to exactly how he's going to handle that. I think we're going to have to see over this week and then presumably over the third preseason game if he would play in that one.
Actually, I thought it was interesting. He cleared the first bar for me on this last Saturday. I said I needed him to look like a professional quarterback, right? I needed him to go out there and just kind of be. He didn't need to be spectacular, and he cleared that bar, by the way. But I think it's interesting because there are a couple more bars from where he is now, or that after that first bar, to where he was in Houston in 2020. What's the next bar for Deshaun to clear?
I think for me, it would be seeing, can this guy still make game-changing plays? Because I agree with you, Nick. That was kind of my exact read on the situation. Again, I think he did the game manager stuff that he needed to do. He did the sort of procedural stuff. He led drives that led to points on the board, even though he himself did not throw a touchdown. So those are things we know matter to Todd Monken as he's installing a new offense. But for me, the next step would be, okay, can he get back to making, obviously, these explosive sort of plays that you just obviously need to be able to do if you're a functioning offense in the NFL. I think the stat was going around after that Chicago game about his lack of yards in the air. That is the next step. And, to Shedeur Sanders' credit, I think he stayed in this competition and has remained enticing because he can make throws like that throw he made to Luke Floria, like the one he made to Gage Larvidan, where they are these explosive plays, and those look good. So I do think we just need to see that sort of thing from Deshaun Watson on top of all this game managing stuff. But I agree. The first step was seeing, does this guy just look totally rattled when he's out there and actually getting hit? And, I don't think he did, but now it's going to be time, the next steps, to up the production.
How bad was Deshaun today at practice?
Well, he threw 2 more picks today. and another near pick to Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. I know two of the balls were intended for Gage Larbadan on the near pick and the second pick he threw, and the first one was intended for Tylan Wallace. So, I think that is sort of a tough day when you're throwing picks when you haven't been. But also, I think when you're not with the starters, that is, take it with a grain of salt a little bit. We've seen that throughout camp with both guys. So, and also the thing about today's practice, it just kind of felt like nothing overall. Like, I don't know how much stock I would put in today just because of that. It felt like they were in shorts. You didn't see some key veterans out there or key veterans who just were not doing a lot today. So I really think everyone's kind of saving it for tomorrow. And it just wasn't a good, hard-fought day overall is kind of how I would characterize today.
You said tomorrow, the joint practice with the Bills. It does feel like we're getting a German suplex or two for every training camp joint practice. I'll ask you, are we expecting fisticuffs tomorrow with the Bills?
I'm really curious. Todd Monken today, it was funny, talking about these other fights that have happened. He's like, you do all you can to try to stop them, but, you're kind of at a loss because, of course, coaches go into them and say, hey, absolutely no fighting. Do not fight under any circumstances. And then suddenly the fur is flying, so to speak. So, the people I'm most curious about are Jared Verse, who we know talks nonstop. Same thing with Quincy Williams, the linebacker behind him. Those two guys, they love to talk. They use it to hype themselves up. They think it hypes their teammates up. And Jared Verse this week talked about how he's played against Deion Dawkins before, the Bills left tackle, and those two really got into it in that game when he was with the Rams. So I'm curious about that. I'm also curious about Quinshon Judkins. He wasn't out here today. He was dealing with something minor, the team said. But we know Quinshon gives it right back to them, and he likes to talk. He's a fiery guy. So, Todd Monken is stressing no fighting. I'm hoping they got it all out of their system with some of these, sort of frowned upon hits yesterday that caused practice to end early. But we'll see, to be determined. I think you can never predict that stuff with these joint practices.
What will concern you more tomorrow with these joint practices? The Browns' offense getting dominated or the defense getting dominated?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say the defense, right? And for me, it would be the defense because I think everyone's expecting that the defense is going to still be okay. That has been the expectation, right? Without, even after the Myles Garrett trade, without Jim Schwartz as the coordinator, people are really happy with the return on Jared Verse. And, I kind of hesitated because obviously some guys like Carson Schlesinger have been banged up, right? So I think rationally you're not going to get a full picture of that, assuming he's not going to be out there practicing. But I think it would be disconcerting to see the defense come out here tomorrow and just totally lay an egg or get beat up because that's the side of the ball people are less worried about right now. So I think that's why I'd lean that direction.
Ashley, one pretty common recent criticism of the Browns roster is depth, and I've heard people attribute depth issues to why they think the Browns won't be that good. I think that is a fair thing that people underestimate can sink a team, but do you think the Browns have a depth issue?
Well, the handful of places that I am worried about right now, I would say corner, your depth at corner. I'm watching now and thinking, what are they going to do if a serious injury happens to Tyson Campbell or Denzel Ward? Because after that, we've seen it. We saw it in that preseason game on Saturday. It can get pretty bleak. And linebacker-wise, of course, you have to worry about Carson Schlesinger. He's the star of that unit now, so you hope that he's going to be ready to go and up to speed by week one. And then, I don't know, I feel like I'm less worried. We talked, I think, about running back depth in the spring. I guess that's still sort of a concern, just because I think Dylan Sampson has had a really nice camp, but you worry about his durability. So I think those are the areas for me that I'm starting to, or still questioning some depth things, but in any of those cases, it's not the top of the room, obviously, right? It really is corner, talking about your third, fourth, fifth corners, et cetera, at that point.
Yeah, and you're definitely fair to question that, obviously. But I did want to ask about Michael Coates Jr., who had another pick today as well. Had the pick in Saturday's game. It feels
We're
like
big Coates guys.
We're
in the armoire with him.
He's just making all sorts of plays, Ashley.
Yeah, you know what? I said it was unfortunate that he got hurt on Saturday, but thankfully, he's since come back, so it's good. Whatever bothered him after he made that play on Saturday hasn't affected him the rest of the week, so that's good. But I certainly think he's a guy that I would think is going to essentially play himself onto this roster with these plays that he's made. I mean, I think he's looked pretty good. And if he can stay healthy, that would be a win right now for them because, again, that's a position group where there are depth questions. So there is room for somebody like him to sort of play their way onto that 53, I think.
All right, Ashley. Well, I know Todd Monken today talked about ending practice prematurely yesterday because of yet another overly physical moment there. I know we talked about the joint practice fight, but do you think the feistiness of the practices between the offense and the defense, do you see that as a good sign or a bad sign?
I see it as a good sign because I don't think they've crossed the line. And, I thought this yesterday, and Todd Monken made it clear today. He felt like the same, that there wasn't anything dirty yesterday. It was just almost like it was getting too physical, and you didn't want it to get to the point where something dirty would happen or there would be, a brawl or a mini brawl. So he just felt like it was best to call it at that point before anyone, to use his phrase, got totally emotionally hijacked. So I like the competitiveness. I do think, I always say with defenses especially, and especially with this young defense, like you kind of need some guys who are just like willing to play with their hair on fire, willing to play a little bit crazy. And I think Jared Verse and Quincy Williams fit that bill to me. And before, I've seen this defense where it's good, but everyone's just kind of quiet, right? Like Denzel Ward's kind of a quiet guy. Carson Schlesinger doesn't say much. Myles Garrett was a quiet guy. Like they needed, I think, a little bit different of energy coming into this season. And I think the defense has upped the level of play with that for some of these younger guys on offense. Like obviously that back and forth with Verse and Fano was essentially the decision maker in Spencer Fano winning the starting left tackle job. So I think it hasn't crossed any lines. I like it. I think it's good for a young football team to sort of have that fight.
And the Fano thing is the genesis of my thought that I feel like, and tell me if you just think I'm wrong, I feel like Monken loves this, loves the fights, loves all this action that's attached to it and the energy that is attached to it. I know they're not supposed to, but it does. I do get the impression that Monken loves it.
Yeah, the Fano thing kind of, I think, sells that point, right? Because it's a fine line. I think, like, he loves it, to that fine line point that you don't want anything dirty happening or overly physical, but that moment sort of was a tone-setting moment. So I think he loves it. I think he loves that hard-nosed football. They want that identity for this team. So it's like, how could you not love it as long as no one's crossing any major boundaries or like throwing punches or, hitting the quarterback? I think it's all in the sake of developing that culture right now.
I got to say, Ashley, we've been on such a streak here, Jonathan and I have, of not taking these interviews off the rail, that if there's some sort of local media award you would like to put us up for, we will graciously accept that award on behalf of our professionalism the last 3, maybe 4 weeks now.
I think we opened the convo talking about it. Tugboat's nickname, though. We did it before you got on.
Yeah, but we never brought it on air. We separated the shenanigans.
It's within the segment, though. Does that still count, Ashley? Are we good?
Yeah, you did it just now, though. So I think that counts by bringing it up again.
Thanks,
I was going to ignore it. So I think you guys kind of ruined it for yourselves there. I don't know.
I would like to say Jonathan ruined it for us. And,
I didn't want it bad enough.
And maybe Cleveland, but
didn't want it bad enough.
We'll put a call in to New York and have the league office review it. How about that?
Is that also going to take 27 hours like the one on Saturday?
Probably.
Ashley, good stuff. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Ashley Bastock there, Cleveland.com and the Orange and Brown Talk podcast on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right. Call Kyle Ryan hotline.